In a recent video I made, my food budget for 2 people for 2 days was one of each UK coin in current circulation. That is £3.88, comprising £2, £1, 50p, 20p, 10p, 5p, 2p and 1 penny. Someone asked a really interesting question. Why is your £1 coin so small and your 2p coin so enormous? These are the current coins in circulation and their sizes are a bit weird, aren't they? There's an explanation for this, and it's a pretty simple one, but rather than telling you right now, I want to put it in its proper context, so I'm going to ramble on for about 10 minutes about the history of modern British currency. To see the full picture, I need to take you back a little over half a century. There's a lot to get through here, so if I've made any omissions or errors, your polite corrections will be warmly welcomed in the comments section. In the 1960s, UK currency was totally different to the way it looks today. Our currency was not decimal. A penny looked like this, and there were 240 of them in a pound, which looked like this. A banknote. In fact, the name £1 comes from much, much earlier, when it was a measure of weight. 240 silver pennies totaled £1 in weight. The currency symbol for pounds is a crossed letter L, standing for libra pondo, the basic unit of weight in the Roman Empire. The crossbar on the letter indicates that it's an abbreviation. But we're not going that far back. This penny was made from bronze, and by 1960 the value of a pound of silver had long since diverged from the pound currency value. There was also a halfpenny coin that looked like this, and a coin worth 1/4 of a penny, a fourth of a penny, called a farthing, which came from the Old English word forthing. So let's put the penny and the farthing next to each other like this. There, now you know why those weird vintage bicycles are called penny farthing. Now we're at the beginning of our story here in 1960, but sadly it's the end of the story for farthings, because 1960 was the year when they ceased to be legal tender. So long farthing, we hardly knew you. Anyway, back to these other coins. This brass coin was worth 3 pennies, the plural of penny is pence, and so this was called 3p, threepence or a threepenny bit. This coin, originally silver, later cupro nickel, was worth 6p, and it's called a silver sixpence or a tanner. This one's worth 12p, and it's called a shilling, commonly known as a bob. This one was worth 2 shillings, 24p, and it's called a florin. This one's worth 5 shillings and was called a crown. There's also a half crown worth 2 shillings and 6p, and that's how people described monetary amounts in pounds, shillings and pence. So they would have said a half a crown is worth 2 and 6, which would have been written like this, or like this. The written abbreviated symbol for pence was the small letter D, which seems weird, but this is because the penny links all the way back to the Roman coin called a denarius. There's also a fairly rare double florin coin, which was worth 4 shillings, 48p, only briefly minted for 4 years during Queen Victoria's reign. This coin was actually created as part of an earlier plan to decimalise British currency, but it did not become popular because there was just no particular need for a 4 shilling coin. It's also nearly the same size as a full crown, so it could easily be mistaken for that coin. There was a 10 shilling note, 10 bob, so worth 120p or half of a pound, which looked like this. And of course there were banknotes larger than a pound, but we're not going to cover those in this video. So that was pre-decimal currency in Britain, and even here there are some weird size discrepancies. A sixpence is smaller than threepence, for example, but when you split them into bronze, brass and silver, there is a kind of correlation between size and value in each group. Anyway, in 1966 the decision to convert to decimal was finalised. In a nutshell, the existing pound unit would stay the same value, but instead of being divided into 240p, it would instead be divided into 100 new pence. This would take place in February of 1971. Here's how that change happened, and the highlights of everything that came afterwards. In 1968, 2 new coins began being minted in preparation. These were the new 5p coin, which is the same size as a shilling and the same value, because 5/100ths of a pound is the same as 12 240ths. Similarly, a new 10p coin was minted, same size as a florin and same value. 10/100ths of a pound is the same as 24 240ths. These coins were circulated prior to decimal day, from the point where they were minted, and they were used interchangeably with shillings and florins. In 1969 the half crown and the half penny were withdrawn, and another decimal ready coin was launched, the 50 new pence coin, to replace the 10 bob note, which itself was withdrawn in 1970, before decimal day. On the 10th of February 1971, banks closed at 3:30 p.m. to begin the process of converting customer accounts to decimal. On Monday the 15th of February, the banks reopened at 10 a.m. and everything changed. Well, nearly everything. The pound stayed the same. New bronze pennies were circulated, worth 1/100th of a pound, along with new halfpennies and new 2p coins. Now here's something a little bit clever. The tiny half new penny coins were half the weight of a new penny, and the 2 new pence coin was twice the weight of a new penny. Allowing these coins to be mixed for banking, the value could just be counted by weight. And this is the reason why the 2 new pence coin is the size it is. If it had been any smaller, the half new penny would have been unfeasibly small. Shillings and florins remained in circulation but were now officially valued the same as their 5 new pence and 10 new pence coins, which is the same as their relative value before. Full crowns were revalued to 25 new pence, again the same relative value as before, but they didn't become a coin in common circulation. From decimal day onward, full crowns were legal tender, but reserved for commemorative issue. Old pennies and threepences were withdrawn. Some old coins could still be used in payment for a while at their converted new penny values, but change would be given in new decimal coins. The silver sixpence was supposed to be withdrawn, but due to a public outcry it was instead retained, revalued to 2.5 new pence, again maintaining its relative value to the pound, and it lived on for a little while, although no new sixpences were minted for circulation. And there we were, that was Britain running on decimal currency. Some people had trouble adapting to it, but considering the magnitude of change, it all went incredibly smoothly. Nothing much changed for a few years. In 1978, the pound note was redesigned and made smaller, now looking like this. In 1980, the sixpence was finally withdrawn. Oddly, the rationale for pushing this through was the scrap value of the metal of the coins in circulation. Weird. In 1982, the naming on the halfpenny, penny, 2, 5, 10 and 50 pence coins changed from new pence to just pence. Fair enough, I mean new pence weren't that new anymore. Also that year, a new denomination was issued, 20 pence. The following year, 1983, a £1 coin was introduced, looking like this, and printing of pound notes was discontinued in England. Scotland, however, continued to print pound notes with 3 different designs from the Bank of Scotland, Royal Bank of Scotland and Clydesdale Bank. So at this point we've got what looks more or less like the modern lineup of UK decimal currency. If you put all the coins together there are discrepancies between size and value, but if again you split them into copper, silver round, silver non-round and brass, you get a sensible size to value correlation within each group. The 2 pence coin, although slightly larger than the 5 pence, is smaller than the 10 pence, so it doesn't really stand out as a monster. In 1984 the halfpenny was withdrawn because it was hardly worth anything anymore. In 1988 the pound note was withdrawn in England and Wales. In 1990 the 5 pence coin was downsized. The design was the same, just smaller. At this point all of the old large 5 pence coins were withdrawn, along with the pre-decimal shillings which had still been in common circulation alongside them. In 1992, the 10 pence coin was similarly downsized and the old 10 pence coins and florins were withdrawn. So this point in time, 21 years after decimal day, was actually the time when pre-decimal currency finally ended being in common circulation. The full crown coins, not a coin in common circulation and now only being minted for commemorative purposes, carried on being legal tender, however. So here we are in 1992. This is the point where the 2 pence coin now started to look like a real misfit. Larger in diameter than the 5 pence, 10 pence and 20 pence and pound coins. They could conceivably have been shrunk down now that the halfpenny, which had originally constrained their minimum size, was gone. But there were, as far as I can tell, never any plans to downsize the penny and 2 pence coins. There have been proposals to withdraw both these coins, but that failed due to continued public popularity. So what happened instead is that the penny and 2 pence coins didn't get smaller, they got cheaper to make. Both of them switched material from bronze to copper jacketed steel. Nothing changed for 5 years. Then in 1997 the 50 pence coin, by now a monster compared to the others, got downsized. Incidentally, some people still call this by its pre-decimal colloquial 10 bob. The same year a bimetallic £2 coin was introduced, although there had been at least one commemorative issue of a £2 coin previously, this one from back in 1989, which looks like a giant version of the pound coin. In 2007 the Bank of Scotland withdrew their Scots pound note, and then in 2009 Clydesdale did the same with their version. In 2010 and 2012, the 5 and 10 pence coins switched from cupra nickel to nickel-plated steel. And finally, or rather most recently, the pound coin was switched to a bimetal design with additional anti-forgery features because according to some reports, up to 3% of the old round pound coins in circulation were fake. The new coin had the same approximate size but dodecagonal in shape, and recalling some of the design elements of the beloved pre-decimal threepenny bit. We like our nostalgia here in Britain, although I have to say that the nostalgia we used to have was better than the stuff we have these days. One of the anti-forgery features in the new bimetal pound is this sort of louvered hologram image. So that's how we ended up with this collection of coins: penny, 2 pence, 5 pence, 10 pence, 50 pence, £1 and £2, plus a few oddities. Full crowns, both pre-decimal and modern commemorative with a value of 25 pence, but not in common circulation. £5 coins, which are also legal tender and about the same size as a full crown, but again commemorative, not in circulation. Scotland is, as far as I know, still printing limited numbers of pound notes, but only in one of the 3 original bank designs, Royal Bank of Scotland. The one real oddity in this story is that double florin coin from the 1880s. It was never withdrawn, I think perhaps because it was so uncommon. And although this is rare, it remains legal tender to this day, with a value of 20 pence. although nobody would spend it as 20 pence because it's made of solid silver, and so it's worth quite a lot more. So the short answer to that original question, which is why is the 2p coin so comparatively large, it's that way because its original size was constrained by the minimum practical size of the halfpenny, and because it's never been downsized. So that's all of our story for today, and looking at it from here, I think it's quite a remarkable one. A successful plan to go decimal almost overnight, but with echoes that are still with us faintly 5 decades later. I hope that was interesting. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.